Yo, motherfucker, did you know Kinda Funny Live 3 is happening? I bet you did, you piece of shit. Come hang out with me June 3rd. kindafunny.com/KFL3.
This episode of the Kinda Funny Gamescast is brought to you by Sherry's Berries. Mother's Day is coming up, and Sherry's Berries is offering huge, freshly dipped strawberries starting at $19.99 plus shipping. And right now, you can double the berries for just $10 more. Pick your delivery date, and those berries are guaranteed to arrive fresh and delicious, or your money back. I got these berries for Gia once, and if I'm lying, I'm dying. I ate all of them, and I don't even regret it. They were good. They were damn good. Gia was pretty bummed, but she was happy I was happy, and that's really all that matters at the end of the day. Anyways, the only way to get this amazing berries deal starting at just $19.99 is to visit berries.com. You click on the microphone in the top right corner and use the code KFGames. That's BERRIES.com and the code KFGames. You click on the mic. This amazing deal won't last long, and Mother's Day is right around the corner, so make your mama proud. Order now. What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 118 of the Kinda Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by one of the coolest dudes in video games, Greg Miller.
I'm going to crack open a fine vintage of water, 2017, right off the Alps.
Yeah.
Wait for it. There it is.
That's my favorite part, is that little, you know what I mean? And joining us for the first time, IGN's Alanah Pearce.
Hi.
Hello!
Oh, multiple people clapped.
You might know her from the internet as Char-Alana-Zard,
Yeah, I know.
which is a very fun thing to say. Big
Yeah.
fan of the name in
Less
general.
fun thing to spell, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to be able to wrap my head around it as not being
So
one of
it's-
the
It's the
Pokemaniacs
H in
like you
Alanah
got.
that I think throws people
It
off.
gives people hazard. So it's just my name
Gives
in the middle
people
of
hazard.
in the middle of Charizard, which to me seems obvious.
Yeah.
To everyone else,
Sure,
just
not so
incredibly
much.
confusing.
What's the origin of that? You just like Charizard? You're like,
Yeah.
that's my dude?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't put a lot of thought into it. It's actually on the back of my senior jersey from high school. Like, that's how long I've had that. It's a username from back in, like, MySpace days. And it kind of got to a point where I was like, I'm aware that I should change this for marketing purposes.
Too late
I've had it
now.
too long. I can't. It's a part of me.
Like
It is a part of
Marty
me.
Sleva and Mick Biggity. What a great idea. What a great idea.
Biggity.
What a great idea.
Marty would have never known
Oh, there's
the
a
heights
really-
that he would have
Garfep. Come on,
I
guys.
actually like Goffet, but there's a
Well, yeah,
really-
it's come around now because Greg always regrets fucking elderly people. Clearly.
What?
That's what we used to do on Beyond when nobody could keep it straight. We had to give it, spell it out for
Mnemonic
like,
device.
Yeah,
I
mnemonic
see.
device.
I see.
Yeah.
But
Greg always
McBiggity
regrets.
has a really dumb origin story
Yeah,
as well.
he's too drunk. Well, what a surprise. Marty's drunk.
You're probably right.
Jesus. Marty, get help. We've been telling
Get
you
He
for a
forgot
long
his
time.
own age once.
Yeah.
Mick Biggity.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
God. See, that one's hard too because no one can spell biggity.
But that's why you say with 2 G's and 2 T's. Like, at least his username has, like, its own slogan.
Yeah.
I respect that.
I remember when we were trying to like brand Alfredo and like we're trying to figure out what it is, and obviously Alfredo Diaz is taken everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Obviously.
we had there's a bazillion Alfredo Diaz's out there. We were trying to figure it out. I'm like, well, what if we just made it Alfredo and just be like, it's Alfredo with 4 O's.
It's not a bad idea.
Taken.
Really?
5 O's
Really?
taken. 6, 7,
Wow.
8. Every combination O's taken. Brilliant ideas. Obviously, someone thought of them first.
What
But
about
no one thought of Alfredo Plays.
No one did. No one did. Actually, some people did. So that's why he has
Actually, it took him a long time.
The Alfredo plays on
Really?
some other
He doesn't have it
things.
anymore, right? I thought he
That
finally
he-
got
I
it
think
on the most
Twitter,
important
though.
ones. The most important
Oh,
ones.
he has it on
now.
Twitter?
Yeah.
Oh,
Come on,
There's a
keep up
guy-
with
shout out
him.
to Alfredo Plays.
The guy on Instagram who is IGN, we have to be IGN.com.
Yep. I'm so
and
sorry
his
for him.
description is just not affiliated with IGN.com. It doesn't say anything else. You're
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, dude.
Man, he got tagged in so many things.
Yeah,
So
I felt bad for him
disgusting
back in the
things.
day. It's funny. Very rare, but once in a while, one of our fans will tag at Kinda Funny just to be like, "Hey, do you regret that not selling this to Kinda Funny?"
Yeah, that was a war. That was a war that we lost.
Yeah,
Apparently.
Yeah.
This is the Kinda Funny Gamescast. Each and every week, get together, talk about video games, all things that we love about them. You can get it early over on patreon.com/kindafunnygames, or guess what, Alanah? You can get it late on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. But I don't know why you'd want to do that. But you could. Live your life. Do you. Do all the things. But on Patreon, there's a whole bunch of perks and goodies.
And don't go chasing the papers.
Yeah, that's
you said
true.
live your life, and I was singing the song.
Yeah, shout out to Rihanna.
Yeah.
Shout out to that song. Sampling the Numa Numa dance.
Yeah.
Oh, be careful.
Yeah.
you'll get a copyright strike.
You're right.
Thank-
It was
I am
perfect
nailing
pitch.
it. Thank you. Thank you, Lana.
Greg's
Oh,
good
you
at that.
flatter me.
Greg is very, very good at that. What we been playing lately? Start with you, Greg.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
You've been playing that Mario Kart, Alanah?
I've been playing a bit of Mario Kart.
Hell yeah, me too.
By the time this posts on Patreon, By the time I post on Patreon, I guess we'll still be on the eve, if not the morning of. But I've been prepping, of course, for my birthday stream, 12:30 to 5 o'clock, playing kids in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on Twitch. Of course, I'm taking on Zyger head-to-head. I'm taking on Average Josh head-to-head. I might be taking on some kid who didn't have it but challenged me. He didn't understand what he was doing, but he brought down my ire.
Well, Average Josh is at least average, so you just have to be
average.
better than
Josh gonna get clowned out. Zyger, he's one of those crazy Nintendo fanboys. I'm not sure what I'm getting into. You know what I mean? I have $150 well, I guess $300 technically riding on this. Sean Pitts, of course, backing Zyger, 150 there. Zyger backing himself, 150. We'll see what happens. I think I got him. Because I've played a lot of Mario Kart.
What actually is the battle that's going on?
For those not aware.
Are you playing battle mode?
No. Just straight
Okay.
up racing. We're just
All right.
racing.
All
We're just
right.
racing.
Yeah.
Rubbing is racing. That's what I'm all about. Battle mode was never my forte. I don't make any claims to be good at battle mode. Regular Mario Kart, I claim to be good at.
It's not Forte, it's Ford.
I believe. Shut up with that crap. Right
true,
now, it's
that's
something
true.
like we have
Speaking of battle mode in Ford.
130 kids I'm playing
Block
throughout
Ford?
the day.
Hot damn.
And I'm going to lose a lot of those. Like, you know what I mean? Because that'll be like, I'm doing the, 12 player, tournament
Yep.
things jumping in
Right.
there. I'm sure I'm going to drop a lot of races there and, get clowned out by a bunch of people. But I feel like I'm going to be in the mid tier there.
Yeah.
Even if I get into a really good group, I think I'm going to be able to, go there and struggle. But I love Mario Kart. as
What
you
if
know.
you were average Josh?
I don't know.
I'd be
It's
scared.
impossible. If I'm average Greg after this, I
Yeah.
don't think I
No.
could possibly
Could be.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that would be just the most depressing thing on the hours I've already put into Mario Kart 8. But that
Yeah.
is the problem with Mario Kart. As much as I love Mario Kart, always have loved Mario Kart.
It's not Crash Team Racing. That is the major
That
problem.
Kevin, please turn off his microphone. The problem with Mario Kart is that there's always someone remarkably better than you.
Yeah.
Where it's like I've been playing online, and so it's just games journos going, and I feel really fucking good because I'm kicking their heads in most of the time. But then I was playing, and last week's guest Andre Seegers popped into the room, and I just went, fuck,
Look,
and he just went and he was gone. I'm like,
I
damn.
think I'm pretty good at Mario Kart to
Yeah.
the extent where I can confidently say I will beat most people.
Yeah.
And then there was one time where I played against a Nintendo PR rep. And he kicked my ass so bad that I was confused as to how. I was like, I literally don't know how I can do this
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
How the fuck are you beating me?
Yeah.
Every time. And he'd be like, oh, I don't know, I played it a bit. Me too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Damn
that's
it,
the thing.
dude.
That's the thing of now, especially with this is a weird one because the kids have been complaining online because I keep cutting wrestling promos and yelling at people and talking about insulting mothers.
I saw that. It was
Thank
good.
you. And I'm saying, to the fact of they're like, well, it's unfair. You've been playing for a week before release. And it's like, Mario Kart 8's been out quite a while. And when it was on...
To be fair,
Yeah.
it's a different game mechanically because of the dual items and the extra...
The pink sparks?
drift system. Yeah.
Sure, there's no more fire hopping. But again, I don't think we're not like MLG esports Mario Kart players coming at this. It's still Greg Miller and a
what
bunch
if
of
you were?
Goonies. The people who are the esports people, like Sancho West scares me. Anytime Sancho West says he's going to play me in something, I'm like, oh, God damn it, here we go.
He's
Well,
dead.
I
Yeah.
think that if you're good at Mario Kart 8, despite the changes, you'll probably be good at
Yeah.
Deluxe, right?
No, for sure.
Like, I think you could practice on that and just things would be vaguely
Exactly.
similar.
And that's the thing when you get scary. Well, there was a moment with Zyger where I was like, when we were going back and forth, and Andy Cortez came up with the 150 when I started baiting them into increasing their bets after I tanked the Let's Play on purpose. I was like, hey, what do you want to do here?
lineage to
Blah,
this.
blah, blah. And Andy's like, well, what about 200? I'm like, no, not 200cc. I don't want to play 200cc.
200cc is dumb.
Exactly, thank you. And I asked Zyger about it. For one moment, we let down our guards on our little rivalry. I was like, "Hey, but how are you? Good? Do you do T2?" He's like, "Oh no." I'm like, "Oh God, thank God." He's
I've
like,
never
200
done
cc, way
drugs,
too
but
hard.
I imagine that 200cc is like being on cocaine. Like, that's what that is.
Some people nailed it on. Of course, I'm Greg Miller, so I'm on the Reddit for Mario Kart, as you know. I'm a big Reddit fan, and talking to people there on that, and then people responding to me and Zyger talking about it. They bring up the good point of the people who don't like it, like us, are just like, the courses weren't designed with this in mind. So it's that thing of when I play it, it is that frustration of remember when you first got I think back to when you first started playing a Mario Kart and you played 50cc and you're like, oh, okay, I got the hang, and then you jump to 150 and you're slamming into walls and you don't know how to do anything. And it's like, part of my brain's like, oh, that's what's happening in 200cc. If I commit to it, I could do it.
Yeah.
But then on the plane ride out to Montreal, I was like, I'm going to only play 200cc. And I was like, this is so frustrating.
Interesting.
I'm not coming around on this.
Well, I think the issue is that you have to play the game differently. We've grown up playing Mario Kart as being
Let's drift.
You never, why is there even a brake button? Have you ever used the brake in Mario Kart? No.
As I've gone head over heels into 8 Deluxe here, there's a few turns I'm using B on while still accelerating, while still drifting, but having to pop
Gotcha.
down.
I feel like you use the drift as the brake and then just adjust a
Exactly.
little. And that
That's what I'm
slows you down
saying.
a bit.
It's kind of just like a on rails game
Yeah.
to an extent where
Yeah.
you're just like, you're just going and you're just controlling where it goes.
Yeah.
But I think that the 200, it brings a
need
different
to.
level of skill where you actually have to use the brake
Right.
to maneuver the course. So it's like, I feel like for people that are looking for a actual challenge, like a racing experience, that might
And that
speed it up which would slow the game down
I
a
haven't
bit.
tried it.
on the Reddit, there was a discussion of 150 versus 200, and there was a lot of people like us who were just like 150 sucks, and I was like, I just
200 sucks.
I'm sorry, 200 sucks. And then some person popped in, he's like, and it's like, of course, probably the monocle wearing internet commenter evolved, just like, well, 200 cc's where real
It's more
racing skills come
sophisticated.
through, and I'm like, there's an argument to that because you are doing, and that's why I actually stopped in the flight because I was like, my hope was I'd do this so I'd be like how. When 50 might have been hard for you, 100 was hard for you, get to 150 cc.
And then you go back and you're laughing.
And you're like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
I drift so easy. I'm like, I'll do that with 200, but 200 was making me play so differently that I'm like, this is actually going to fuck me up when I go back to play 150.
That's pretty rad, though, that something like a speed increase can make it almost feel like a different game.
Sure.
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, and make you play a different way.
It's interesting, and I think that the kart series has evolved slightly over time to get to where it's at with Mario Kart 8, where when you compare Mario Kart 8 to even 64, they are very different games, and they feel totally different.
Yeah.
And I think that with the drift mechanics and getting to the 150cc, the courses are designed for 150.
Yeah.
I think at this
I
point,
agree, I agree.
and especially with the addition of the motorcycles in the Wii version, and then all the
Anti-grav stuff.
well, the anti-grav stuff, which is kind of that's just a little extra shit. I'm talking about more the
Gliders.
the gliders, and like the underwater stuff for Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS. It's like once you get to 8, they've kind of like weeded out all the gimmicky stuff of it, and it's just like, all right, cool. There is a lot going on, and every single course has some of these elements being used.
Sure.
And so it's like there is a bit more skill than there was in some of the other ones. I mean, Mario Kart DS people really love but that's the one that got ruined by snaking and all that
yeah.
stuff. But the snaking is
But
where
again, that was like professional. Yeah,
shit
exactly,
was,
exactly.
right? I've never been able to say I'm good at Mario Kart. I didn't believe people could be good at Mario Kart. I'm just like, there's
Until
so
you met
much
me.
rubber banding. There's so much, like, the game is just designed to have fun. You know, it's not designed to be better than someone else. It's designed to make everyone think that they're better than everyone
Well,
else.
I've also seen arguments that like it's such a game of chance that there's no way you can actually be good at it because you have no idea what items you're going to pick up. But by that logic, like if I get first in every race, that shouldn't happen if it's that based
exactly.
on chance. So I think you can be good at steering across a course. Drifting is obviously super important. I tried to teach my mom to drift. It didn't go well, but she'll get there one day. But then, like, using items
Han.
is like, if you're in the lead and you're far enough in the lead and you keep getting bananas, it's fine. It's not
Yeah, and
anything
that-
that's really going to hurt you as a blue show.
And that's the thing of like where it's when you play someone like Andre, when you play someone who just peels away and is gone, you're like, well, you are a better racer than me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the thing that blows my mind. It's like, I felt like at the level of play I've always done, I'm like, you can't really be good at it. It's a game of luck. If you know what you're doing, you're going to do better than someone that doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But it's like, then you see like the YouTube videos of people, like, I haven't played online yet at all. I'm sure
Yeah.
I just get my ass kicked. And
Yeah.
it's like, I just don't
just
know
want
what
a
it
bunch
is
of
that they
racing
know that I
videos.
don't.
Yeah, it's insane.
Where I'm like, I feel like I'm drifting correctly.
Yeah.
Why
But
are
it's just
you
that
so much better
That's
than me?
that's the thing of the tiered system. I feel like it is where it's like when we've been playing in the mornings here, but when you guys were in Austin, we were playing on the TV, and Andy kept saying, "I just don't get how good Greg is this good," and I don't feel like I'm that good, but for that I am. And then to go online, or not even online, to play against somebody like Andre, I just had like before you got here, I was playing a bunch of races, and I was showing Nick, I'm like, I'm coming in first online. I'm like, the real people have this game. Like it's not all in my head. Like I do have something here, but it is that thing of. It can change on a dime of you
Yeah.
drift once wrong one time and you're in the thing, then all of a sudden you get to third, which means you're catching all the red shells, which means you're into fifth now, which
Yeah.
means you're getting shitty. You get the fucking piranha plant, you get Chad who's chomping away. I'm like, this is the worst power up
Yeah.
ever.
It's like if you play fighting games against your friends and you're like, I'm the fucking best at
I'm
this,
the
and you go
fucking
online, you're like,
best.
oh, everything is awful.
I mean, we've lived through that age. Right? I know I have. You two are very young. I always forget. But like that moment where that was a real thing where I'm like, fuck, I am the best at NCAA football there has ever been. I destroy all my friends. And like, oh, shoot, the new one's got online. It's just like, you don't know what you're
Yeah.
doing. You're like, damn it. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of demoralizing.
Do you know all the shortcuts in Mario Kart? Because I feel like the thing is, it becomes a game of memorization. Of
Yeah,
just
the thi-
knowing all the right places to go. Because I don't know them at all.
For them, I know where they are, but for the most part, there's a strategy to a pro level Mario Kart player that I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of, you know what I mean? Of I'm going to fall back and hang back to get a mushroom or get the 3 mushrooms or infinite mushrooms to then accelerate up there to do this to then make use of, because there's plenty of shortcuts, but it's like if you try to, you know, shoot through the library or whatever in the castle, like if you don't have a boost there, you're actually going to slow down and fuck it all up.
Yeah, and
you
I mean,
need a plan for that. And I'm like, I don't want to get to that.
I respect that, but it also turns the game into math, which I don't want.
Yep.
Like, totally don't want that. But I have like routes that I prefer. But one thing that probably holds me back in my Mario Kart career is I always just play standard kart. Every time it's always
Me
standard
too.
cart, standard wheels,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
because I'm used to it.
Yep.
So if I ever try and swap to the bike, I'm like, I don't fucking know what this thing is doing,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, how do I turn a corner? I don't
Yeah.
know, and everything's terrible.
This is the one with, you know, the switch and the screenshot button where like I am definitely getting into Beautiful Mind style shit. Where I'm like, all right, let's look through. I'm like, all right, well, this is what my acceleration speed look like on this build, but this build would be there, but this build is this, but this build.
This is actually a screenshot gallery.
Yeah, these are all my screenshots right here of me going through trying to figure out.
You're a crazy
Because
person.
there was a time where like I was, you know, I'm online, I'm reading all the stuff, I'm going through. I'm like, well, who should I be using? I'm a Dry Bones fanatic. We all know that. It was a big. I'm sure you knew that. It's a big deal that Dry Bones is in this game. But back, you know, I can play as him. You know what I mean? Like this is what the audience wanted.
Yeah.
The Dry Boners, like we call ourselves. We all wanted this. You know
Everyone
what I mean?
loves a dry boner.
Yeah, we wanted this bad. We got it, but then I got into it. I'm like, well, maybe I should start using heavy because that'll affect this stat and do that. And I played a few as what's the little fat guy, Marcus or whatever? I don't even know.
There's a few of those.
Yeah, exactly. A little
What?
fat squat guy. I don't know. One of your Nintendo
almost
guys I've
definitely
never
Wario.
fucking heard of in my life.
Oh, Morton.
Morton.
The Koopa
Thank
kid.
you.
Morton.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
There are literally tens of them.
Got it,
Exactly.
got it,
And so I'm
okay.
using him and I'm like, you know
There's
what? Like,
8.
this is where I got to draw the line.
Yeah.
Of like, I'm not going to go this. I'm going to be Dry Bones and I'll take 40 screenshots to figure out which build I like the most, but I'm not going to go that crazy on it.
So that's a problem I have with Mario Kart in general, and specifically with Mario Kart 8. I feel like Mario Kart 8 and especially Deluxe are just such polished games. Like, I mean, they're an example of why I liked Wii U games. Is that like for what little was going on in that
Dude,
console?
I fucking love the Wii U.
Don't get me started. Do not get me started. I love it way too much because of the games and because of
Yeah.
the levels of polish
How's
that
it
they
call
have.
me? It's backwards compatible.
Come on.
Best console ever. I don't know about that. I didn't say that.
I can't stand with you there.
Oh.
But the thing with Mario Kart 8 is everything about it, from the soundtrack to the amount of courses and the amount of characters.
Yeah.
There's
Also
so
the DLC.
and the
really good.
DLC is fantastic. Finally getting it towards a Nintendo cart that we
Yeah.
all want it to be. But my problem is I'm also a standard cart person, not because I don't want to do the other stuff, but because nowhere in the game does it make it clear what does what and why. Like, I feel like if you hit the start, the plus button
buttons,
or
yeah.
whatever, it starts to give you a little bit of stats and stuff. I just feel like there's not enough information in the game for me to understand why I'm supposed to be using the combinations that I'm using, like, and what terrain these things work better on
You would have
or
to
whatever.
kind of test them all out.
And but the thing is, even testing it, like, I don't really know exactly what feels right. So then I go online, I start looking at what's up. But then the problem is, even looking at the different characters, there's no clear way to know.
who's a light, who's a
Without
medium,
looking
who's a heavy.
online, there's no way
That
you
is
didn't
true.
even know that there is classes.
Right.
So you just kind of got to look at them and guess. And it's like, all right, then if you look online, it's like, okay, well, they fall into 3 main classes. There's light, medium,
But here's
and
the
heavy.
thing about
and it's
that.
like, but then there's ultra light and
Sure.
ultra heavy. But who qualifies as what? Are all
Well,
the
the baby
babies
care.
equal weight? Are they?
I think all the babies are ultralight, yeah.
What's Rosalina falling under?
A ghost.
Because Rosalina, well, do you know who Rosalina is?
I know, I'm
Mario
joking.
Galaxy?
She got no legs.
But she's heavy.
Oh,
How
really?
is Rosalina a heavy character? That
Stardust.
doesn't make,
She's got so
and
much
she always
hair.
has been. Like, she
got
does got a lot.
such a
She has
big-
that big dress. What's going on in there? We don't know the secrets.
I'm sure you'd
It's
love to know.
all
Heavy
concrete.
secrets. Yeah, I mean, she's historically been a heavy character.
Sure. But here's my thing about what you're saying. Is this not the beauty of Mario Kart? In the fact that it is so simple to understand and jump into, but then, like, if you want to get, like, all right, I've spent enough time to get good at it, but my friends are still beating me. Why are they beating me? You look into. I think a long time ago somebody would have turned you on, because like that's the thing right now. Right, I'm on the flight back from Montreal. Jen was next to me. I popped off my controllers, put them on there. I had my pro controller, set it up on the table, and we played the entire way back home. And it was that thing of her having no idea what was happening, and so we're playing on 50 so she can get her bearings. And then after a few races, she's like, "Wait, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm drifting. This is what drifting." You know what I mean? I have to explain those things piece by piece, moment by moment, because there's no way she can step in and compete against somebody who's played every Mario Kart since GameCube, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
different.
that's like one thing that I will argue to the death is that Pokemon is not a kid's game, but if you want to play it as a kid, you can. And I think that that's a huge selling point, is that you can play something as complex as you want to. Like, Pro Pokemon is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, people
EV,
get
IV, all that shit.
it's insane and it's awesome, but you don't have to do any of that. And I feel like Mario Kart's kind of the same. But it's also like one of the best things about Breath of the Wild is that it hasn't been telling anyone too much, so people have been figuring stuff out together. And I kind of like that about Mario Kart as well. In theory, like I haven't delved into the Reddit, but
Sure.
like the fact that people are figuring that stuff out together kind of makes it even more of a community experience than Mario Kart is already designed to be.
And
Yeah.
I hear you, because that's the thing of like, I want the easy answer of Googling what is the best kart loadout. You know what I mean? Like, what is
Yeah.
the one I should be racing at to be the best? And there are
or not even the best.
different
Just
answers.
give me what is the best cart for your style of racing?
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like that's just not even that clear. Like,
But I
at
think
least
so much of
back
that
in
then
the-
comes down to your skill then, right? Of what you're talking about, of like, do you know the shortcuts? Do you know how to get these items? Because I think it's like, I think any cart combination can hang. That's I mean maybe that's a naive opinion. I'm not, again, we're not esporting it up and going out and doing all those things. But I feel like the game's designed that there's the combination of, okay, well, you can have this cart and whatever, and like, you know, this cart's gonna be faster, this cart's gonna accelerate quicker but have a different top speed. But you're gonna hang back, you're gonna get this item, you're gonna do this. Like, there's a way around it where it's trying to balance everything out.
Yeah, I just guess it's the problem that I have with a lot of Nintendo games where it just feels like there's not really an excuse besides, oh, it's Nintendo. Like, oh, it's supposed to be for kids and adults, but it's like, well, there's something missing there for me. Like, I feel like with Smash Brothers, there's, for the amount of characters that game has, and like at this point, it's like upwards of 60. Like, you can play as any of them, and if you play them enough, you do understand the differences between them. Even the clone characters, like you can look at them and be like, all right, cool. Well, he is faster than this one, but he's stronger than that one. Like, and you can very easily understand that. But with Mario Kart, I feel like I could play as all the different characters over and over and over, and never really, just by playing, be like, okay, this guy's faster than
They
this
don't have
guy.
anything like to facilitate you testing different things, which I would agree with.
I guess that's my complaint
Yeah.
with it
So
all.
there's like, it's hard to figure out what works best for you because there isn't any like, take this for a spin and see how you fare, because like, how do you even quantify that? Like, it's tough. And I feel like it would have been really hard for them to balance the carts, honestly, because online people don't just use the same things. You know how that happens with fighting games a lot?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, this is clearly the best. Like, that's definitely a problem in Pokemon. Everyone just uses the same shit every pro tournament. Mario Kart doesn't have that. So it's maybe a blessing in that way, but it's definitely like, I agree with the criticism that you can't figure out what's best for you because it doesn't tell you how to figure that out.
Yeah.
All. That's totally a thing.
You have to go watch. I was just watching YouTube videos today of like the differing acceleration tiers and all this stuff, and it's like I'm watching the video this guy put together. I want to say Abdullah, whatever. Do you know him? I didn't know if he was a big Nintendo guy or not because he wears a Nintendo shirt. Anyways, he had it split in 3 parts of the screen. And he's showing these different people racing against the Ghost, and it's still like, I don't even know what exactly I'm seeing.
Yeah.
You know, what is the best acceleration of these 3 builds and stuff like that. But that's the whole thing of where it's got to be. I'm not going to worry about that. When inevitably I play this Twitch stream and we have best friends that are like that, more power to you. I just can't, can't get there.
Yeah.
I've been loving it though. I love having it portably, and like this is a perfect example for me of a Switch game and what
Oh my
I'm
God,
looking
you kidding
for.
me?
Like
So
Zelda obviously is fan-fucking-tastic, but like these are the type of experiences that I'm happy that we're gonna get a lot of these.
Dude, I want Persona. Like, now that
Don't
that
even get
game
me
is out,
started.
I want Persona on a Switch so bad. And it's like almost like it's ruined me already. It's like
Yep.
there's so many games that I want portable now,
For
especially
as much as we all
long-form
travel,
stuff. Like,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's like there was a period where I first started playing Zelda. Every plane I got on, I was excited because
Yep.
it was like, dude, this is 6 hours of interrupted Zelda.
How many
Like,
shrines I can do?
Same
Yeah.
thing with the cart
Maybe
going
3.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
And no, but that's the whole thing of just like, like going up there to Montreal, coming back now, moving, now getting ready for all this other stuff, then going to convention. I'm like, when the fuck am I getting back to Persona? Like, for real? Like,
Yeah.
when am I going to sit down and play? But it's like last night before bed, I was like, all right, yeah, pop this on for a couple seconds and go.
'cause it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Shout out to battle mode though.
Yeah.
I'm a huge battle mode fan, especially back in the 64 days. I'm so bummed that Block Fort's not in this. It's like that seems like just such a misstep
Yeah.
because this is like it feels like the greatest hits of Mario Kart, and then it just missed one of the number 1 hit singles.
They might bring it back.
Will there be DLC for this? Do you think?
Yeah.
You think?
I imagine it might be packaged into a broader thing. I wouldn't think battle mode specific DLC, but it's like if they add extra DLC, well, I don't know.
I feel like
Nintendo's
this is
very
it.
hard to manage.
You know, I feel like with the
They made
Mario
such a
Kart
big
8
deal about
Deluxe,
this is deluxe and this is
Yeah.
everything.
It would have been the definitive. The games usually don't add DLC to definitive editions.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a slightly different situation with this, but I don't
See
know.
how it sells. You figure it's going to sell real well, and maybe if
Yeah.
it does, and
But it
there's
would
all
seem
that.
crazy to have it be Switch or on the Switch and people not get extra content or for it to not have new content. Like that,
Yeah.
that would seem like a loss, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I hope it comes. The courses they have, they're fun, they're cool, and I played not enough of it yet. And I again haven't played online, so I've just been playing against bots, and it's cool, it's great. But I mean, it's battle mode, and it's fucking back. The balloon burst is just like, thank you.
Yeah.
I've missed this so much. I beat all the Grand Prix. I've got at least gold in most of them. I think there's 2 of them that I haven't done it yet.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
You're way ahead. I know it is, isn't it?
I was gonna say, do you want to know how many kilometers I've driven?
Yes.
Sure.
984.
I'm glad it's in kilometers.
I know, right? It's
Good.
annoying.
Shout out to that.
Currently,
Hey,
I have 2,071 coins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done 8,140 drifts, of which I've then hit 3,334 mini
You-
turbos.
Should I leave? Are you guys
I
like
don't
sexting
know.
right
This
now?
is
But-
like-
Online, my race rating is 1290, but it's climbing up. I've done 50 total battles.
What else have you been playing,
Gotten
Alanah?
gold in 24.
I feel like this is like phone sex, but like in person.
For me,
Like,
it
he's
is.
like, do you want to know how much I've done in Mario Kart?
Because there's no trophies for me to
tell you.
brag. I can only brag with stats. And I have no idea if they're impressive or not.
They're just numbers.
What was the question? What else have I been playing? So What Remains of Edith Finch is something that like I played a little bit of. Totally not a ton. But I think it's a very, very interesting game. Have you guys played much of it?
No, I haven't.
Not even the
I've done
demos?
I've done the preview stuff at like PAX. I think a couple of
Okay,
years
that's
ago-
most
or not
most of
years ago.
what the content I played is exactly the same
Okay,
as that
yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
But it is way bigger than I thought it would be
Okay.
from what I have played of it.
Sure.
And it's just so goddamn beautiful and does this really, really good job of storytelling in that. I was saying this the other day on a podcast, but everything basically, the environments look like they are part of the characters that lived in them. So for anyone who doesn't know the premise, it's a game where there's this Edith family, they're a huge family, and you're basically, Finch family rather, and you're trying to figure out what happened to all of them. And there's a like family tree, and you sort of figure out their stories one by one in this house that just keeps being built upon, and each of the extensions of the house is really reflective of the characters that lived in it. And there's like this one little boy who really likes space stuff, and he has this like little corner of a room that's just like beautifully decorated with all of the stuff that I believe that kid would have. Whereas I feel like a lot of houses in video games, it's kind of the BioShock Infinite effect, where it's like, yeah, you kind of like put a little bit of detail there, but when I delved into the detail, I didn't find anything.
Sure.
Like if you find someone in BioShock Infinite and you follow them for a little bit out of curiosity, they just end up sitting down and just kind of staring into the distance.
It's like walking through an IKEA, right?
Kind
Here's
of.
all these places, but you're like, there's nothing behind them.
Yeah,
you know
and you
what I
like
mean? Main
look
Street
for it.
USA.
Yeah, whereas I feel like this game has detail on every single inch of it.
that's awesome.
That feels lived in and feels reflective of the person who actually did live in it, and I love that about it. I think that alone is worth experiencing. It's super cool. It's also like just very easy to play. It's not very long. And
How long is it? Yeah.
I haven't finished it, but Muddy was saying about 90 minutes or so.
Oh, great.
So,
Yeah,
like,
that's perfect.
I do that now, right?
Yeah.
Anytime something's short, I'm like, sweet, I have time to play this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just trying to fit in so much stuff in life, let alone like, okay, Persona's there. But I was like, I
Yeah.
finally couldn't take it. And I sat down and did episode 3 of Walking Dead season 3 and then episode 1 of Guardians. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, I know how long this is going to be and I can be done. Whereas Persona's like, I gotta grind. I gotta grind to beat this guy
Yeah,
in his
exactly.
palace and all this different stuff. But I'm super excited to sit down with Edith Finch because
It's something I think you could easy finish in one sitting.
awesome. Yeah, I love Giant Sparrow. I had such a great time with Unfinished Swan.
I didn't play that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, you got to.
It was PS3, right?
Yeah, but they made a PlayStation
Oh, they did.
Vita version for sure, and I think that it had
means I can
there's a
play
PlayStation 4 port as well.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's super pretty.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's $40 or so. Whatever it is, it's cheaper than a standard game. It's a short experience, and it's something that has like sparked a lot of conversation about video games, which I assume that we'll get to.
Yeah.
But I think for just watching things happen, even though you're technically watching people die in this really metaphorical, spiritual way, it's just
It's not peaceful.
weirdly uplifting. Like I don't really, like part of the thing that I find amazing about it is that I can't explain the things that I like about it. It's like it's this feeling that's like I've almost never felt in a game before that I think is really powerful, and it's really cool.
That's awesome.
This is a great segue into topic number 2. This topic's brought to you by Patreon producer Tom Bach. Shout out to Tom Bach, the homie, as they say.
I know him.
You do.
He's come
You
by
do.
here. He
You
sat
do.
here. He ate barbecue with us.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was an article.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's cool.
It's cool. What about?
An article by Ian Bogust, posted over at The Atlantic. Headline was, "Video games are better without stories." Now, this thing went viral for all
People are
intents
mad about
of
it.
the word. And yeah, people are upset about it. We've all read the article. I want to kind of have a discussion about the article and also about video game stories. And is he right? Is he wrong? Or whatever. My thing is, seeing this headline upset me.
Yes.
There's like a guttural reaction that's just like, fuck you, leave my shit alone.
Yeah.
Video games, I will fight for them.
I love
you know?
games.
Yeah, it's like, don't insult my shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But then reading the article, as I was going through, I'm like, all right, you're making points. I don't agree with all the points, but I'm like, I'm going to think about this more instead of just standing up to fight because you're insulting something that I love.
Yeah.
What were your guys' thoughts?
Well, I mean, he brought up What Remains of Edith Finch, and the way... Thank you.
Kevin hasn't made a face yet, but your turn, and so I was making sure. Great, just making sure, bud. I didn't know Tim was breathing last week, so sometimes I can't trust your ears anymore, it turns out.
Anyway, the way that he brought it up was like, this is obviously a story, but it's called an interactive story. But how interactive is it when there's really only one thing that you can do in every environment? And I understand that criticism. There's like games that have stories that I kind of like the idea that a player gets to control the pace of something like that. And with like it's environmental storytelling. And I think that is a powerful thing that doesn't really exist thoroughly in any other medium, where I can look at something and spend as much or as little time as I want to exploring what that thing is. And I think that's where video games have kind of an upper hand on other forms of storytelling. And I think that like there are plenty of games that have trash dialogue. We have a lot of writers in video games who aren't experienced in writing narrative at all. So it's like, it's a mixed barrel, but if something like The Last of Us didn't exist, I think the world would be a worse place. That's like my thesis here.
Yeah.
My jumping off point with the article was I think it's got a bad headline because it is a broad stroke, a shot across the bow of video games. And then when he gets into it, he's not talking about every game. On this measure, alas, the best interactive stories are still worse than even middling books and films. And he brings up Gone Home and Edith Finch and all. He's talking about
BioShock.
He's talking about walking simulators, though. When Last of Us gets like a tertiary mention, I didn't feel like he was really going at Last of Us.
No.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I agree.
But I felt like he was much more the walking simulator, this kind of thing. Because that, I don't know if he's not necessarily wrong. I love video games, but it is that argument of like, think of the amount of video games we've all played and the amount of times you walked away and been like, what a story. You know what I mean? Usually for me, it's what an experience. I was wrapped up in this. And Gone Home is one that I always talk about, right? Of like, I finished that and like, when, the credits rolled and I was like, holy shit, that was awesome. But it was like, yeah, they're just telling me their story. And this is when I used to go to bat for, and still do, for the Telltale's game design choices, where people are like, oh, Walking Dead Season 1 didn't even matter. None of my choices mattered. It all got to the same point. And I was like, well, no, like, my whole argument was that the game starts in one point, deviates out, but then inevitably has to come back. And it's all the little choices we made here. I always said it was like a coloring book page. We all have the same coloring book page, but when we sit down and show them to each other, they all are shaded differently. Because we all came away from the same story, but we all had different moments and things you didn't know somebody else did or this. You had to get to the point that, what are you going to do about Lee Everett? Like, Clem's got to go off on her own. Like, that's the story they wanted to tell you, but the journey there for you is what it was about.
What I thought was interesting that he brought up with Gone Home is comparing it to like young adult novels, where I was just like, again, you're not necessarily wrong. You're putting it in a category where it's like, young adult sounds like an insult, but it's like, no, the young adult novels, obviously,
it's a genre.
It's a genre, and a lot of people are really into it, and they take something away from it. And it's like, if you were to take that same story and adapt it in a way that made sense in a young adult novel, people would be moved similarly, right, from that experience. And it's just the headline to me, the thesis of what he was saying is more like video games shouldn't focus on having stories.
Yeah.
Whereas the headline is video games are better without stories. And it's like, that just goes back to the gameplay is king argument, where it's like, I just think that there's so many different types of games that it doesn't need to be a this or that, right? Like, there are so many games that don't need stories. Mario, like platformers, and that's not a rule, but like overall, platformers are about
Save the princess. There's no choice here. This is what's going on.
Yeah.
Bowser's
like
got her.
All the story is just to kind of like just get it going, right?
To frame why you're doing this,
fun, right? Like to give a light reason for why locations look the way they do, or whatever, right? Like it's more set dressing. But then there's games that are just purely like the story is the point, and the rest the mechanics are all built around getting you through that. And it's interesting to think about like books, for example, because it's like, oh, well, the difference between a game and a book is it's the interactivity and you're in it. And it's like the plot doesn't progress unless you play. It's like, well, the plot of a book doesn't progress unless you read.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that said, like, what does Gone Home, the book, look like? Like, I really think that the way that story is told in that game is probably the most effective way to tell that story, because it's pieced to you slowly. Like, how do you write a book like that?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work?
I mean, the other thing about Gone Home, too, is the fact that I think we're, in this example, so far removed from the release of Gone Home. You know what I mean? Because we all beat the dead horse.
I actually only played it this year.
Did you know the twist? Did you know what you were getting into?
Yeah.
Because that was the thing, like, and I was talking to Jen about this too, where she's like, I haven't played it because I was asking about the wall art when we move. Like, where should we put this stuff? She's like, well, no, I haven't played it. I'm like, well, do you know what happens? Because if not, we're stuck. She's like, no, I totally know. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Because, like, for me, it was that day the reviews popped, and it was Marty tweeting, it was McElroy tweeting and being like, hey, if you don't, go play this game. Don't read anything, don't do anything, go play. And I sat down and playing that game, you're like, oh, it's a fucking horror game. I'm in a horror game and playing through and like being like, where's the ghost? And like you're picking up paranormal activity books. And you're like, oh fuck, it's gonna start any second.
It was like one of the coolest things about Firewatch as well. It's
Yeah.
like, is this a horror game?
You don't know where
When's
it's
it gonna be a
going
horror
and
game?
what's gonna happen. And like that was part of it for me that makes Gone Home so amazing was the fact of playing it and being like, all right, what's going on? All right, cool. This girl's missing. Oh, okay, well, I'm getting it through her. Okay, cool. She's going through. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I gotta look out for the ghost. And then finally it was like, there was like a moment like, wait, is this the game? Is the game? And then there was that moment of like, all right, cool. You're going, I'm in that. And then there, like the bulb explodes. Like, oh no, is it a horror game? I don't know. What's in the attic?
So that's like part of it, right? Like, how the hell do you do that in a book? Like,
Yeah.
I think that that's a really successful way of telling a story. And I was super immersed in that game for the amount of time that I played it. What, 3-4 hours maybe?
Oh,
I don't
not
know.
even
It's
probably an
super
hour and a half.
short.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an achievement for fucking finishing that game in 10 minutes.
Greg
No,
knows
there's
it
an
well.
achievement for
Was
I
it
think
1
under
minute?
a minute. Under
Yeah,
a
you're
minute.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
And it took me a really long time.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, it's gonna be easy. It's gonna
you-
take 3 minutes.
What's that thing? You walk over, you hit the door, you double click the door doesn't mean fuck restart.
Or if you like slightly bump the staircase, you're like,
Yeah.
well, I gotta
that was
restart.
it. Waste of my time.
You don't fucking drop the duck fast enough. Like,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
insane.
Stupid-ass duck.
It took me a really long time.
Don't talk shit on Christmas duck.
Fuck the duck.
Right
Fuck
there.
the
What up?
Is that actually the duck?
Yeah, it's one of the prototypes they made when they were getting
way.
ready to. Don't. Oh no.
He
Steve
killed that
Gaynor
duck?
gave us that.
No.
That is a
The duck
prototype.
he'll be back. He'll be back. He'll flock.
Yeah, but now Kevin's.
flock.
It's a good
No,
point.
no.
Steve Gaynor will come back too.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
really fucked
Well,
up.
now he's watching. Now he's just watching
He's
us.
just chilling. He's just chilling. I like that. Yeah, it's interesting that like the same games always get brought up when you
Sure.
start talking about game stories, like games with good stories, because
Yeah.
most of the games do just have generic stories just to get through whatever it is. And I don't necessarily think that that's bad. And I think that it's important to kind of give credit where credit's due to the games that do push that narrative and do give an experience that is
you guys
unique
play
to the
Virginia?
franchise.
Oh yeah.
That's a really unique way to tell a story. I actually didn't like that game very
Oh,
much.
really?
Yeah, I was just by the end, like I loved it until I got to a point where I was like, okay, this doesn't make any sense to me now, and I'm annoyed.
Virginia grew on me the more I thought about it. When I finished,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, that was fun, whatever. And then I kept finding myself thinking about it like before bed or whatever. And then I went back and platinumed it.
What's
and I
in
was
the
like,
box?
what the hell's going on in the box? That was one of those games that I came around on. And like,
Yeah.
what's interesting about bringing Last of Us into this equation is that I don't again think he's talking about the narrative of Last of Us or bringing that up. But I always think about how Last of Us was so great at interactive environmental storytelling, of walking into a house and being like, somebody lived here, and
Yeah.
finding notes and like references to them. And of course, the whole Ishmael storyline, like
Yeah.
that you could totally blow by and never know anything about it. But if you were picking up all these different things and tracing them from the water till their ultimate end, you're like, holy shit, this was fucking awesome.
The thing with The Last of Us, though, is that it would also make a really good TV show.
Yeah.
Like, it could do both, and it would be perfectly
Sure.
fine. And
That's
I
a
had
great
problems
point.
playing that game because anything that's, like, too tense, you know that boss fight in Resident Evil 7? That when you're in close quarters with the two
Oh,
chainsaws?
yeah, I fucking hate that one.
Me too, but because it stressed me out so much. And I had that with The Last of Us, where anything that's too tense, I have to put down for a bit. So it's like, it took me a while to get through that game because I had to keep taking breaks because I was like, I'm going to die. I'm going to get shipped. Like, this is terrifying. And I just had to keep stopping. And I
Yeah.
wonder if consuming that as a movie would have made this story. Nah, I don't know. It still had a huge impact on me.
Yeah.
But like, there's something to be said for like things like that should cross over. Like, I'm glad if they make a movie out of that. I don't really care about Call of Duty, but there are like plenty of like Assassin's Creed could have been good. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing that like
Yeah.
playing through the first two games, like I was like, this could have made a great movie. They
Yeah.
just kind of screwed it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prince of Persia.
Yeah, we'll see if there's ever a good video game movie.
I mean,
One
that's
day.
the thing that's interesting though, is you take all the games that have turned into movies, and it's like all they're doing is taking the story elements and just adapting it to film. And a lot of games are just trying to mimic movies,
Yeah.
right? And
But I feel like that's what's happening now, though, and like we brought up the young adult fiction isn't a knock against it. It's just that there's not a lot of games exploring that space. And we're back to what I always talk about, right, with the silly putty. Video games are growing and going in every direction, and that's awesome because there's a game now for every mood you're in. But the library still isn't that huge for when we're talking about like, well, I want to do the young adult stuff. Well, not that many, nor is it the fact that we've learned all the lessons, right, in terms of how old the industry is. So it
Yeah.
is this generation that grew up on Mario being like, I'm making games now, and I want them to be more like movies. But for the people who are growing up playing Last of Us right now, what happens when they jump out and they're ready to start making stuff and they've consumed and know it in a different way? So
Yeah.
again, I don't think I think the headline's bullshit, and that's what started the anger. Because I'm sure most people didn't even read the entire article, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's like where it starts and stops for a lot of people, and they do want to get defensive and yell about it. But I do think there's a point of like, yeah, a lot of video game stories do suck, and they don't
need them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's getting you from point A to point B, and like we can do better, and we're going to do better, and we are doing better. And I think there are standout examples. I think Gone Home is a great example of what you're saying of like. That doesn't work as a movie. That doesn't work as a TV show. Like, what is that? You just come home and you're finding notes and walking around and reliving memories. And it's like, well, no, there's a million other ways to do that. But in the same way of like, when I'll watch a movie and it is like a high school drama or whatever, and it's just like, high school doesn't even matter. You don't even know. You know what I mean? But that's because that is a young adult movie that I'm watching and enjoying for what it is and not worrying about it.
Yeah. It's kind of, I think that is a genre of storytelling in itself that exists exclusively in video games, like something like Firewatch, something like Gone Home. Like, I like that video games have like even sort of recently figured out what stories they tell and how they tell them, and it is mostly like us being pieced dialogue slowly and mostly exploring things, and I like that too. Like that video games have figured out this is like a short form book that we have made, but it only can exist in this format. Like, what is Firewatch the book? I don't know.
Yeah.
But like there's totally games that I think I would have preferred if they didn't have a story at the same time, which is like kind of the thesis of the article that the headline involves.
I mean, that's the thing. Go back to it. The video games are better without stories. It comes down to the gameplay versus story, but then there's the games that mesh both of those perfectly.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we've gotten too many great examples of that, because most of the things that we're naming, it's like we talk about the experience more than anything. Like, we don't really talk about the gameplay of Last of Us.
Yeah.
We talk about the story of Last of Us.
Well, the gameplay of Last of Us is pretty good though.
It's pretty good, but it's still like the shooting and everything in it it's not the same as the way you would talk about a quality shooter.
Yeah.
Like a 10 out of 10
Yeah, you're right.
top of the line shooter, right?
It's also like Gone Home. What is that gameplay?
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know.
And because it's about the plot, it's about progressing
Yeah.
the plot. And then I think the Metal Gear Solid series is an interesting example of both sides of this, where there's thought put into the story. Whether or not you think it's a good story, and depending on the game, I would argue it is or isn't.
Yeah.
There's still obvious points of the plot is important. And the characters are important, and they're thinking about how it's all going to fit in for that game and for the sequels and for all that. But then yeah. But like Metal Gear Solid 5 is an example of the gameplay is perfect. The story's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you look at like other Metal Gear Solid games, and it's like the gameplay it's fine, but the story's really great. And then it's like there's not really the perfect middle ground, because then it turns into like a Metal Gear Solid 4, where the gameplay is really fun, but the story turns into more movie than video game story.
I just think I'm fine with that. Like, I think I'm okay with picking one or the other and having the option of being like, today I want a story-focused game and today I want a gameplay-focused game. Like, I kind of like that. Like, it would be great to have one that would have both, but like, I'm fine with having to make a choice.
I think the reason you talk
both.
about experience so much is because it's unique to the medium. That there isn't an experience to watching a movie necessarily. And I mean, there's obviously different examples, but the fact of the matter is someone's talking at you. This is you participating, right? And that's what I always talk about, where, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to come home and I'm going to want to play something. I'm going to want to interact. But there's those rare nights where I'm tired or whatever, and I just want somebody to talk to me, talk at me, not even talk to me, talk at me, tell me your story and be done with it. And so, like, I think in between the bouts of combat in BioShock, for instance, the recordings players discover have no influence on the action of the game except to color the interpretation of the action. The payoff, if that's the right word for it, is a tepid reprimand against blind compliance, the very conceit the BioShock player would have to embrace to play the game in the first place. And it's like, no, like BioShock is this awesome experience. And again, we're taking for granted how fucking cool that reveal, the would you kindly reveal was. Like when you didn't know that was coming and you got there and you were like, holy shit, that's awesome. Not to mention, like, in terms of environmental storytelling, I think BioShock does it so well with picking up audio diaries and continuing to explore and scavenge for things and feel like, this is an old argument, but like, is BioShock a first-person shooter? Because you get 3 bullets and you're really not supposed to fight anything until you have to fight something, and then it's going to be by the skin of your teeth, you're usually going to get through it. Like, that game is an experience. It pulls together all these awesome bits that I think you lose the seam of like, well, maybe the story wasn't that great. You know, it was just telling whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Like, no, like the way it all comes together as a package is what we're talking about when we talk about video games in the media.
Well, there's a bunch of problems I have with BioShock Infinite story. Like,
BioShock Infinite, yeah, I know.
So like I played that game and then I played it again. So clearly I enjoyed the gameplay, but weirdly I don't remember enjoying the gameplay. And it's like just the fact that what you are doing in that game versus what you were told the story is about are two completely different things. It's like you're told that it's a story about a girl, but what you actually do is just fucking kill people the whole time. And it's like that is a limit of the medium. Like maybe BioShock Infinite would be an example of something that maybe would be better as a book, but the gameplay is great, so it kind of doesn't matter. Like we just kind of like passively take it and it's fine.
And that's the thing, and I think that's one of the, comparing BioShock, or the original comes out in BioShock 2, different development team, but not even in the remotely same league. BioShock Infinite, you hope is going to be the return to BioShock 1 because we have expectations of what BioShock 1 was. In this, BioShock Infinite is a first-person shooter. You kill more people in the first level than you did in all of BioShock because there's just so much going on. And it is like, wow, Americana, and this is going to be awesome. And it's like, nope, just eating hot dogs out of toilets and fucking blowing everybody to bits. And it's like, okay, I agree with you. Like, I played through that all, on like 2 days off or whatever from IGN, and it was like, cool, that was fun, but like, I'm not ever going to think about it again. Like, that's something I ran through and did, like most Call of Duties I play, not Call of Duties or Battlefields, where it's like, oh, that was cool. Peace out, whatever. Like, that's fine. I don't need to think about this.
And like with the violence thing, they try to tie it into the story by saying Booker is a violent man. But that's the thing that I look at as like, they figured that out afterwards, not beforehand. It wasn't like Booker's a violent man. That's a part of who he is. And then they were like, oh, we kill a lot of people. Let's make that a part of the story. And I feel like it's like this dumb thing that was fed to people. It's just like, it's exposition and it's shitty. It's like such a disconnect for that game specifically that like, I don't think BioShock 1 had. I think BioShock 1 was incredibly strong in terms of storytelling. It just like was probably weighed down, if anything, by the fetch questy shit.
Sure,
There's a lot of that
cross rapture, of course. And that's the thing.
That's
is
video
like,
games. So,
video games are a balance, right? Where BioShock Infinite gameplay's fun, sure, but it fucks up what the story you think was going to be or should have been, kind of thing, right? The games that find it somewhere in the middle are like, it's good story and it's good gameplay. Those are the ones that stand out and you talk about.
Do you guys play Enslaved?
No. Oh, Odyssey to the West?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I really liked that game.
Yeah.
And, like, the gameplay was good for when it came out, and the story is really interesting. It kind of, like, gets messy, but I feel like that's an example of a really good balance of those two things, even though it's, like, it's still parts there that it's just, like, defend the girl, and it's, like, you just throw her up on a ledge, whatever, but it's still super fun.
I mean, I think more recently, in similar vein, too, is Horizon, where Horizon's gameplay was awesome, and I was blown away by how much I enjoyed that story. Of how I was like, fuck, I want to go do the next main quest because I want to know what's happening to these people.
You know, so Uncharted's another series that gets thrown around a lot when people are talking about story, and a lot of that isn't necessarily even just the plot, but it's also the characters involved. Thinking about it for me, it's like the gameplay is great, and I think that what's special about Uncharted is that you get to be part of the chase scenes. You're part of the gunfights.
The whole of Madagascar in 4 was just fucking amazing.
So good. So, I mean, the whole franchise is so great. I mean, the 2 is better than 3, but it's so great. But
funny, IGN.com says it's a 10.
Yeah, oh yeah. When you take,
I'm gonna go edit that.
when you take Uncharted and you're like, okay, what if it was just a movie? Like, you take all the main beats of Uncharted because, like, honestly, besides the main beats, like the collecting the random treasures and stuff, that's not the point of the game. That's just extra stuff to do, right?
Sure.
Like, that would be cut from a movie for a reason, right? Would the Uncharted movie be good? I don't necessarily think so.
It would be very different. It would be a popcorn blockbuster movie, because the problem is like what you're talking about, right? Like, usually, honestly, Uncharted's story gets made fun of, right? Lazarevich is just drinking blue sap. Okay, whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? How did Talbot disappear in that dark alley? Whatever.
Well, there's that story, but then there's the story of the relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What Uncharted succeeds at and makes Uncharted stand out and be so beloved is the fact you love Nate and Sully, you love Nate and Alanah, you love all these people interacting with each other, and a movie would never get that in 2 hours.
Yeah, and the subtleties, the reason that I like Nathan Drake so much is just like he finds something dumb, you don't care about it, but the stuff that he says when he finds it, it's like, yeah, this dude is a good guy. And it's like, that's weird because I don't give a fuck about what those pirates are doing. I don't care at all. Just like, tell me what's happening with Alanah. Like, that's all I wanted in 4 was to see her and know how she felt. And that's interesting in that it's like 3 separate parts of a game. Like the actual treasure hunting story, that's history, the relationships, which is what I actually care about, and then the gameplay, which, like, I really wanted what Uncharted would be like without as much shooting. Like, would we enjoy it as much?
I mean,
because that takes out the subtleties.
It becomes a movie.
Yeah, kind of.
Right, you know, and like that's the thing is it's just like is it only a good story, and again, story involving all the things we were talking about, is it only a good story because it's a video game? Like, or is it only a good story for a video game?
I don't think so. But the thing is, if you take out all the gameplay, then you lose all the banter. And you lose just those subtle conversations that really build those characters.
The one-liners that make you laugh and chuckle while you are negotiating this thing. When in doubt, climb, like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's something that wouldn't play as a one-liner in a movie to make you care more about Marky Mark's version of or Nathan Drake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's another game that I think succeeds so well because it's an experience and is so beloved because it is something only our medium can do. National Treasure is Uncharted for the most part, right? If you wanted to. And National Treasures are fun movies, but they're not like, man, can't wait for the next National Treasure. I'm going to go watch National Treasure again. No.
That one guy who said that is now very offended.
Yeah, sorry. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. The sequel, though, come on. Bringing the parents in, it was a weird choice.
Come on.
Like that stuff.
All right. Well, there you go. You guys can go read the article over on The Atlantic.
Like how you're like, all right, well, there you go. We made absolutely no decision on this.
No,
we have drawn no conclusion.
I think there is. I think the conclusion is that it's just like, hey, video games are just as wide and varied as any other form. And it's just like, he's making good points and he's right about certain games, but he's not right about all games. And,
and the headline sucks.
Headline
Headline's
definitely
really
like
bad.
we would have.
Pretty
It
clickbait.
definitely got the press though. It got the clicks.
Yes,
Yeah.
you did well.
Yeah.
Next topic. Let's talk about Telltale. Patrick Klepek did a great article.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show over on Waypoint.
Yeah.
Talking about why the fuck are Telltale games so broken?
Right.
When will they fix this?
Well,
Greg,
yeah.
lead us off.
What's interesting about Patrick's article over on Waypoint, everybody should go read it, is the fact that I clicked on it when he tweeted it. I'm like, oh, here we go. Like what we've all talked about, right? Colin was always banging the drum of just like their engine sucks and they need to fix it. Now, granted, we all said that, but like Colin was really banging the drum. And so it was like, okay, fine. But Patrick's argument's interesting because he's like, take away the save corruption. Take away the crashes. I'm talking about that as a Guardians of the Galaxy fan playing episode 1, these guys look like robots at Disneyland. And I was like, fuck, you're
Don't
right.
talk shit about Disneyland. He didn't bring Disneyland into
Disney
this.
World. Sorry,
He was
Hall
talking
of
about Chuck
Presidents.
E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese, my apologies.
I mean, the way they walk
apologies.
up staircases is just like,
Yeah. And it is that thing of like, it reframes what Telltale is and where they're going in such an interesting way of the fact of like, oh, right. Like for me, Andy and I played episode 1 of Guardians, the week before it came out, and he came in the next day and talked to each other about it. And before any reviews part, he's like, what'd you think? I was like, it was all right. Like I was like, okay, by the end, they're telling an interesting enough story. I liked it, but I was like, it's a weird thing of like, for me, as somebody who's not a Marvel guy, Guardians is Chris Pratt and there's all these different things. So to get in there and not have them look like that or sound like that, and then have them move, I didn't call in them moving inorganically or whatever. And I was like, that is something weird about it. But by the end, I'm like, I want to see where we go with it. But it's a great phrasing of, like, when does this end for Telltale and what is their legacy? Because for somebody who was covering it for IGN at the time, like, when Walking Dead hit, when season 1 came out, and it was like, oh, that was a cool episode. Wait, what the fuck is going on? This game is like so different. And we were talking about stories and interactive, and can you tell a story? Like, this story is awesome. I care so much about these characters and like people crying at the end and being changed. Like, it's so easy now as we look back at Game of Thrones, all these different huge franchises and what Telltale is. Telltale was fucking nobody before Walking Dead. Like, they put out a bunch of games.
Jurassic Park.
Which sucked.
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future, which ended horribly. Like, started off so strong and then tanked. And then it was Sam and Max before that. It was strong bad. Like, I every time we go to Comic-Con, and I can't remember, we're over by Hall H, the last hall before Hall H or whatever. I remember taking my first Telltale demo when they were like in a cart, like one of the little rooms with a little fucking table right there at the entrance, that I saw Sam and Max, and I'm like, I don't even know what Sam and Max is. And they're like, we're doing Strong Bad next. I'm like, I don't know what Sam and Max is. Or I mean, I was like, no, we're doing Strong Bad. I don't know what Strong Bad was either. You know what I mean? And it was like, all right, cool. This was a quaint thing to do. Cool to see you. And I'll never forget when they announced they had an event, and it was like, we're doing a Walking Dead game and we're doing a Fables game. And I was like, wow, awesome. That seems, and I was a Walking Dead fan. This is before the show. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, that's awesome. I'm glad to see this is going to go on in comic book world. But like, when that hit, it was like, oh shit. And then as it kept continuing, they kept landing franchise in Game of Thrones, and then what they do with Borderlands and the Marvel deal, and now which becomes Guardians. You're
Batman
like,
too.
Batman. Yeah. And like, holy shit, these guys are going, they just went nuclear. They're like, they aren't it's similar, I guess, in the same way. They are the, years of work overnight success story that Rocket League is.
Yeah.
Where one day everything's different, and like they're, you go up to their studio now, obviously full disclosure, I hosted the Batman show, which was just, I wasn't paid for or anything. It was just, I want to go host a Batman show. But like, you go up there now, and like, I remember when they had like 30 people, and now they have like 3 floors and all hundreds of people, and it's like, holy shit, like this is such a different thing. However, these problems still exist. The janky animations, the crashes. When I sat down, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm budgeting the time. I'm going to play Walking Dead Season 3, Episode 3. Like, it's finally here after, they put out the first 2. And I jumped in, and it's chugging a bit. I'm like, all right, I'm on a PlayStation 4. I'm like, that's weird. And it hard crashes, blue screen. I'm like, fuck, all right, well, that happens. Do it. Hard crash, blue screen. Do it. I'm like, okay, well, I got to uninstall this game and reinstall it and be like, guys, what the fuck? Let alone the fact that Batman was the same way. Batman, for me personally, and it's always a different experience for everybody. For me personally, Batman 1 through 4 ran better and performed better than any Telltale game I've played. In terms of like, there was still the janky animation. We're going to a cut scene and then we'll come back and it won't be, or we're going into
a lot of audio just not be there.
Yep. Oh, for me, it was we went from the Batcave to City Hall, but it still had the echo of the Batcave. And I was like, all right. And this is me saying these have run better than other Telltale games, telling you how bad it has.
It was like, it's sometimes like I'd be in the middle of combat, which is like actually really satisfying in that game. And Batman would kick someone and they wouldn't be a noise.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
And then we got to episode 5, and episode 5 was, well, I guess before that there was the one where the guys were running around Arkham and they had no faces. It was just eyeballs. It was the Assassin's Creed face. But episode 5 was the same thing where, oh man, I'm into the climactic battle, blue screen, hard lock, dead. Fuck, restart, get past that point, then dead. And then one more, I think it died.
What were you playing Batman on?
PlayStation 4.
So I played the whole thing on PC, and it felt like I didn't, like, I think that is the best performing Telltale game I've ever had, but there definitely were, every single episode had an issue, like some kind of issue that like I either laughed at it or it pulled me out of it. Like things didn't load. The audio thing was really annoying, and I didn't have any crashes at all, and my save files were totally fine. But it's like even that, the fact that I'm being like, but at least it didn't crash is like that's a standard that they have.
And that's the weird thing right now as a trade-off with Telltale is the fact that I think for me personally, I still think of them as this, oh man, this small studio is still doing big things. But it is the point of like, you're fucking working with DC and Marvel and Image and like HBO. Like, do you not have the money and the resources to build something? And it used to be, I remember, oh, well, I'm playing on PS3 and this game is optimized probably for a PC. So no wonder it's crashing. But then you get to PlayStation 4 and you're like, well, no, this is still happening. And Patrick's article talks about,
playing on PC.
Hey, Patrick played on PC, and his article talks about the fact of like, rumors I've heard too of just like, well, yeah, they don't have a physics engine. You know what I mean? To make a ball roll, it's fucked up. And that was I remember at E3 when they showed us Batman.
The world moves around the character rather than the character moving through the world is one of the things. I don't know if that happens with Batman.
Batman, they made a big deal of like, we have a physics engine for the cape. Like there's actually something happening, which sounds goofy, but I mean like it was, I remember doing the panel where they announced it. We did it at South by. And I was like, oh, cool. You're listening and you're responding, but it's like, how much are they? Cause like here we are. And for me, I wonder, is it just the fact that, Patrick put it like I've always described it on these shows of like it's a network, right? And like where Colin will always be like, Telltale's putting out too many games. They should stop putting out so many games. Like, well, no, not everybody plays every Telltale game. It's like a channel you tune in, you watch the show you want. But are they putting out so much that there's just no time for somebody to go there and be like, let's blow everything up and rebuild?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think even more important than that is like there needs to be consistency in release schedule. Like with Walking Dead, it's like it's ridiculous that for season 3, like they released 1 and 2 at the same time, and
December,
then it was such a huge gap until 3,
which was the end of was the beginning of April. Wait, no, because it was December. We got 1 and 2, then no word, then
nothing.
End of March we got episode 3, and now end of April today, right? No, today's Wednesday. So yesterday we got episode 4. Yeah.
Well, I think the thing with that is they don't even have an idea. Like when I was reviewing Batman, and it would be like, hey, we think we're gonna get a code maybe Wednesday, and it seemed to be like Friday, 6 p.m. I have to play the fucking game. I have to capture everything on a Saturday. I have to write my review. I have to have it published by Monday. And it was like every single time was like, can we get this before Wednesday so I can get this all done so I don't have to work the weekend? They were like, I don't know. And it would just like appear in my inbox. And I think it's that they work on those
up until the moment.
Exactly. Like absolutely. And I think like part of the thing with like episode 4 kind of historically being shitty is that they like probably plan out the first 3 episodes really solidly and plan out the last one. And then in the middle, they're like, oh, I have no idea what we do, and make a bunch of changes that are still being made 2 days before the game comes out.
Yeah.
It's like, they have no idea what their schedule is.
Yeah, and it's like on one hand, as a consumer, it's like, all right, cool, they're trying to get it to us as soon as possible, and they're working on it as much as possible.
Delay
but then
it,
it's like,
delay it,
yeah,
it's fine.
like, but let's make it good. And I think that it really, at this point, does come down to what you're saying, where they have to have money. And at what point is it unacceptable? Have we reached that point? Or is that point never going to be hit because it's fine and people will keep buying it, and it's better for them to focus on getting more IP to make more games that run this way?
That's kind of what I think, is that the point that it stops being fine is the point that people stop buying those games. And the point that people start complaining about them more, which is like obviously people who work in the industry do, but I think people who are Telltale fans do not care. Like a crash sucks, losing save progress sucks, but for the most part, they just will play all of them and not give a shit about it. So it's like there's no onus for them to change.
And I think that they also they must make so much money on all of the different SKUs across all of the different platforms, including mobile.
And that's one of the reasons they're optimized so poorly, you assume, right? It's because you have
true.
this team that's stretched thin trying to get it on every platform
Lowest
and make it
common
run a little bit
denominator.
and stuff. And I think that is the trade-off you talk about of like, well, it's a Telltale game. You know what you're going to get. And like, I'm part of the problem. I reviewed them back then and I was like, oh, it runs better, it runs worse, whatever. But it wasn't like really dinging them because the story is so good and the choice is so good and I like where this is going. And that still can be said, obviously, right? Like,
that's why giving review scores is bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like you have to weigh up the thing that you care about the most. And for a Telltale game, despite complaining about the bugs, I still do care more about getting a good story than I do about those bugs. Like I can laugh them off. It's fine. Like I'm willing to accept it. I don't know why it happens.
Yeah, and that's the thing of like, where do they go and will they ever change it and how? I think it's like anything else, right? Like it's a vote with your wallet kind of thing, but like I'm part of the problem, right? Like I know that episode 4 is going to have shitty things, but I'm going to play episode 4. Like, well, granted, I already bought the season pass, but I'm in for it. You know what I mean? Like
You've already bought the season pass. You're absolutely in for it.
Yeah, exactly.
You already did it.
I already fucked it up and
It's
did
done.
it. But again, it is because I have that bar set for what that's going to be.
Yeah.
What's interesting too, I wanted to pull it up, of course, just so I make sure that earlier this year they lost a bunch of talent too, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I knew
A bunch of people went to Ubisoft, right?
Yep, exactly. Dennis Lenart, Nick Herman, Pierre Shortet. I'm sorry, Pierre. I never pronounced your last name before on any of the shows. All people, friend of our shows, have been through. I mean, fucking Nick Herman came by that one time for that Tales of the Borderlands thing where we all got drunk. And then Adam, who I don't know, but like you were talking about, executive producer, director of writing, creative director and senior cinematic artist, creative director. Like these are the guys who like for Dennis, Nick, and Pierre, these were the people who were like super behind The Walking Dead like forever that I talked to, and I think did a lot on Tales. I mean, they all bop around, so it's interesting. But it is an interesting thing of like what that'll do going forward in terms of brain trust. I'm sure you're hiring the right people. They're all coming up. It's not like someone leaving a company ruins it. But it'll be interesting what that does on the writing front and what it does for the game front. And how it's gonna go.
Definitely. The consistency, not even just in release schedule, but in terms of quality and like episode by episode pacing is like a difficult thing too, because it's a blessing and a curse being episodic. I think episodic releases are a good thing for things like this because it keeps these games that might not necessarily have the huge boom of a AAA game in the media, kind of
100%.
talking sphere for a couple months at a
I feel
time.
like it was like the opposite with Hitman though. Like that game was really good, but I think it would have done way better if they'd released it at once.
See, the thing about it, if I can jump in, sorry, Tim, is that I think it works with a Telltale game because I'm there to talk to you about the story. What choice did you make with this? Hitman is pretty much is just gameplay, right? And how did you take this guy out? Well, I'm going to eventually take him out that way. Hitman fans play those games over and over and over again. Yeah. Whereas like Telltale, it was always when Mitch and I would get there in the morning after getting the new episode, we'd go into a room and shut the doors like, what did you do? And how are you handling this? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I think, you're talking about consistency. That's the thing. Telltale's consistent in what their games are going to run like and look like and do it. You know what I mean? That's why when they're like, oh, we got Capes physical, I'm like, oh, fuck, all right, guys, we're trying. Good job.
I just think that it's a different experience, and we've talked about this in a ton of different shows, but binge watching something, binge reading something, binge playing something is very different than the week to week or month to month of getting it.
Right.
And especially when these games are for the story. So they're comparable then to reading or watching something. And I think Walking Dead's a perfect example because you can read the comic or watch the show. And it's like that show, when there's a lull episode, you're at least like, all right, cool. Well, next week, that means there's going to be something cool. But when these games, you don't know when the next one is, and it's like, oh, well, episode 3's kind of a bummer. Then it's just like you don't know when you're going to get the next one.
And that's another thing back to like reviewing sucks and putting scores on things sucks. Like, reviewing episode by episode Walking Dead, like I remember season 1, episode 4, that was the first one I gave like a 7.5 to, where I was just like, it's fine. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of just middling. There's a huge thing at the end. And that's what I think IGN just said about episode 4 of season 3, where it's like, it's fine, but the ending's awesome. And it's like, that's like, it's shitty. But then when I went back and like would do streams or whatever and play through all the Walking Dead episodes together, episode 4 didn't feel like such a downturn anymore because I knew I knew that I was getting the next thing right away, and actually it helped with the narrative in terms of like, oh, this is what's going on, and we need to have that slow moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like season 2 of Walking Dead, the show. When it's like binge watching, it's really not that bad.
Yeah.
But sitting through week to week, I couldn't even imagine doing that. That would have been so slow.
You don't know what it was like.
I don't.
The pain. Sophia, you fucked. We're moving on. That's what you leave that note on the wall.
You're done.
Are you okay?
No, a lot of.
I remember I was playing Game of Thrones, the Telltale series.
That was bad, right?
I got through 2 of them, and then like I was like, I don't even want to keep going really, because it's like I feel Like the Guardians is an interesting thing because
Have you played it?
No.
Okay.
But they're borrowing from reading Patrick's thing and just like hearing you guys talk about it, borrowing the aesthetic of the movies and the Guardians verse.
It feels like Guardians,
where it's like it's the music and it's this like it's more funny than anything else. Whereas like the comics aren't necessarily that.
Yeah.
Or at least the original source material of it. So that kind of creates a weird shift where it's like, well, they don't look how I want them to look.
Yep.
They don't really sound like I want them to
It's
sound.
like every time that someone voice acts as the Joker and it's not Mark Hamill, I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this?
But the interesting thing about it is the fact of I think they succeeded so much with Tales from the Borderlands. Did you play Tales from the Borderlands?
No, but Monty keeps telling me I should. Apparently, it's super funny, right?
It's so funny. It's
I didn't
so
like
good.
Borderlands.
It doesn't matter. That was
okay.
my thing. Is like when they announced it, I was like, what a dumb thing. I like Borderlands as the RPG, loot grind or whatever. I don't need to go through and then you play it and like it doesn't even need to be Borderlands. It's just giving you the framing
Still
of the
handsome
universe
Jack,
or whatever.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But did you not like him?
No, I do like.
Oh,
him.
he's great. Yeah, he's a really good performance in it. And then Batman. But Batman was great, remember? Because episode 1 ends and you're like, oh shit, we're going in an entirely different direction. This isn't the Batman universe, Whereas Guardians, granted, there's a big moment early on where you're like, well, I guess we are not in the cinematic universe or the comic books. They are doing their own thing, but it doesn't feel like their own thing. Like Batman, like he has a different car and he has a different suit and this is that. And like there's all these clear things. But when you're totally aping and not against it for, James Gunn style, that's when it's like, it's harder for me to leave that behind because this feels so familiar.
Yeah, and then the big issue I had, though, is on the complete other end of the spectrum with Game of Thrones was it was canon.
Yeah.
It is in the TV show universe, and that means that it was limited.
Yeah.
Like, they could only do so much, and any time that a character that, to be honest, you'd care about would show up, you knew it was going to be limited, and you knew that, that where the stakes were at, and it was just like, all right, well, I don't really care to do this because it seems like a side story. Like it's so inconsequential.
Didn't you want to know what Marjorie was doing on this Tuesday?
And that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And it's like the main plot going on. I'm like, all right, this is interesting. And it was very much Game of Thrones. Like they nailed everything about it. But I'm like, there's already enough characters that I care about that I'm like, I don't really buy this.
This was the whole problem with Walking Dead season 1 Glenn and Walking Dead season 3 right now. Minor spoilers, Jesus. I'm just like, they show up and I'm like, really didn't need you here. You know what I mean? Like Glenn, when he leaves, he's like, wow, so I'm going off to go. I'll go see what I'm like. I know where you're going. Just go away. And Jesus mentions Hilltop. You're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Or Kingdom maybe. But it's like, all right, whatever. Like, all right, just go do your thing. Like, it's weird that you're here. This is Clem's story. And that's the thing about this one where they've introduced Javier or whatever. And it's like, okay, like this is interesting. But it is that thing of, there's a pro and con to it of like, well, I don't have a history with him, so I don't really care about him. But then choices pop up and I'm like, I don't know, fuck that guy seems like an asshole, fuck him. Whereas like with Clem, I was always super protective, or I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna appeal that I'm a little girl, get around this.
Yeah, I'm used to that. Final topic of the day. As always, it's brought to you by you. You can go to kindoffunny.com/Gamescast topic and leave your questions just like all these beautiful people did. It's from John B. X32.
John B. X32.
Xbox really needs a big new exclusive. If you were in charge of making that happen, what kind of game would it be? What would it be about?
Shit.
It's interesting because you look at the exclusive game right now, right? Nintendo in its own little fucking world, it'll always be there. It's going to have its IP and it is what it is. But when you look at Xbox versus PlayStation, we've discussed the exclusive thing to death at this point.
Sure.
Where it's like, all right, PlayStation's very much succeeding in its exclusives. Xbox is not doing so well.
This year has been PlayStation.
Yep.
Like,
And it's like Xbox
crazy.
seems like it's going to hit eventually, but whatever. And it
Maybe.
busted its load a little bit like the last couple years with its big guys.
Scalebound.
With And
R.I.P.
canceling all exclusives it's had. Halo 5 came out, Master Chief Collection before that, Gears. It's like that. Those are kind of the big franchises. So it's like, all right.
Forza Horizon is very good.
And then Forza, yeah. Is there another need for a shooter?
No.
Don't think so. Is it a big RPG? I don't even know like what.
Well, if the question is
one
like,
would be.
if I can have any game, that my answer to this question has always been that I would make a Justice League game that's just like Arkham. Like I would make a Justice League game. So there's tons of them. We're in a big old city. You okay?
Yes, you're just saying all the right things. Keep going.
It's like much bigger scale than a regular Arkham game, but that's the tone that I would want, right? And that's the thing I've always said. Does it make sense as an Xbox exclusive? Probably not. So for them to fill a gap, I think they need an RPG.
See, I don't know, man. I would argue that they do. I think that does fill the gap because I think here's the thing
It's
with
not an open world either.
Here's what look at Horizon, right, and all that stuff. The thing I think it's pretty clear that Xbox has been trying to chase is the adult gamer who would be story driven and like, hey, we don't have an Uncharted.
I think esports too.
Sure, but I think right now in terms of how to catch up to PlayStation, right? Like, what does
Sure.
PlayStation do so well? The exclusives and stories that matter, Uncharted, Horizon, being
Mm.
excited for Detroit, right? And you see Xbox go like, all right, cool, we're gonna get Tomb Raider's exclusivity, but Tomb Raider comes with so much baggage, at least for a year, so much baggage, it doesn't move the units. And then when it comes to PlayStation, it doesn't do as well, and everybody's getting fucked in that deal,
Yeah.
right? And then you're like, all right, cool. Then what we want to do is we'll make our own. Let's get Quantum Break. Quantum Break comes out and just doesn't perform well because it's still very much anchored in old Xbox of like, no, it's the melding of TV and games, and everybody's like,
Did you play
no.
that?
Yeah, I did.
I actually really liked it.
I liked it a lot too,
But I
it-
understand why it didn't sell.
it was sent out to die because it was like, is it a TV show? Is it a game? You'll find out. And then we're all like, we hate TV. And they're like,
You'll find out.
fuck.
Stop with the goddamn gimmicks.
Yeah, exactly. But it was cool and it was interesting and different, but whatever. Like, I think sitting down and being like, taking a page from Sony and being like, all right, cool, you have Spider-Man, we're doing this. And the fact that
True.
Marvel is already playing ball that way and doing all these different things and letting Spider-Man be exclusive. And we talked about it before, right? Of like, well, what does it mean for the other games they're working on in Avengers and this and that? And I think we did look at
The Marvel DC thing could be interesting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And that would be
Keeps
the thing.
things
happen.
fun.
If
Yeah.
you were like, of course it is the normal thing being, DC fanboy number one of like, oh, Justice League game, I hope it's not made by Zack Snyder. You know what I mean? Like that kind of shit. There'd be all shit talking. But if it came out and it was fucking awesome and it
Rocksteady
was.
makes it.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
Everything's fine.
Can you fucking imagine at E3? They're like, all right, cool. Yeah, Rocksteady's making the
Y'all got
Justice League
That
Spider-Man.
game.
is literally been my
That's
answer
cute.
to that question for the last decade, I think. It's
That-
been like, this is the game that you make.
And that's the thing is because then you're taking what movies are doing and what they're doing where they're what I love about Marvel is the fact that like, all right, cool, Telltale, your greatest stories, take this.
Yeah.
Square, you guys are good with a whole bunch of shit here, you go make this Avengers game, rumored to be making another Guardians game. Like, let's just take our properties and not try to do them in-house and do them mediocre. Let's go find the best studios to partner with and make them make stuff.
I mean, I
Solid.
loved Fable. Like the first Fable game was one of my favorite games. Like I love that game so much. So it's like that's a property that doesn't exist anymore that almost filled a gap, and then it was open world, it was RPG. But one thing that I think is definitely missing is a Bloodborne or a Neo. Like sure, Xbox has Dark Souls as well, but like if there was a game like that, that's what I wanted Scalebound to be, and that game's been canceled. So
Yeah.
no, there's a ton of gaps right now. I do think that Halo and Gears are incredible franchises. I'm super attached to those franchises, and I love those games. But they're definitely not enough to carry console.
They've shown that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, I think, a wake up call to Xbox in a lot of ways of like, well, we have these sell, these are who our gamers are, and I do think that that's true. But I think the gamers have grown up in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Where it's like just chainsaws and fucking Master Chief aren't enough right now.
Yeah, I think it needs an answer to Uncharted. Like it needs a AAA.
Yeah.
This is a movie game
And not Tomb Raider.
experience. That's not Tomb Raider
Yeah.
either. Like, and even like Tomb Raider's great, but it's like you need something that is like a Naughty Dog game.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't think there's anybody necessarily that can do that.
I mean,
but-
and like this is we've had this discussion on this show, right? Avengers hasn't announced platforms, correct?
No, it hasn't.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where it comes back is I wouldn't put that past them of like, this is their answer. Like, okay, Sony got that. We're taking that. And it would be the same thing, but it would be the Crystal Dynamics and working on it, right? Of being like, all right, here's our game and this is what it is. And it's the same thing as Tomb Raider though. In the argument, if they could just come out and be like, no, this is exclusive to this platform. It is not.
Period.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
coming
Because that's what
later,
killed
it's
Tomb
not
Raider every
timed.
time was
Yeah.
like, E3, here it is. And then an hour later, E3, you're like, well, they're going back and forth and they're using this. And it's like, when PlayStation's already selling so much better, why would I jump over to buy an Xbox when I know
Yeah.
I'm eventually going to get that game?
And then a
if
lot of
I
people
really
just
want it?
didn't do it. They
Yeah.
were like, oh, I'll buy it when it comes to PlayStation, and then they forgot it.
Oh, what a
about it.
surprise. There's a million games coming out a year later that
Yeah.
look better or do this or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one comes from Bongos for Kevin.
Bongos for Kev Dog. Kev Dog, what you playing over there on that Switch? Zelda, all right.
I don't know why he shook his head at bongos.
Oh,
He doesn't
You
want
not
to be
like
bongoed.
them?
there's a history here. At one point, Nick pulled up Kevin's shirt
Twice
and
point.
bongoed on his belly,
Aw.
and it's been a
We did it
wasn't
for
good?
charity. We did it for charity.
It's for charity.
That's
I save it for charity.
that's good.
yeah.
Raise a lot of money.
Bongos
Raising
for kids.
raising that money.
Yeah.
Should I get a PlayStation VR or a Nintendo Switch?
Oh dang.
Look at the library of games and Switch. Just get the Switch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the argument for anytime anything like this comes up. What do you want to play?
Yeah,
Look-
I hate these questions. I hate
Of
it when
course.
people ask me this stuff because I'm like, I cannot tell you what your preference is. I don't know what you prefer. If you travel a lot, get the Switch. If you probably prefer shorter experiences that you are more likely to play by yourself, maybe get PlayStation VR. But there's also like, VR is pretty rad. Like if you happen to really like that tech and you haven't tried it, PSVR is a great way to do that. It's very easy.
Yeah.
If you can find one, you can't find a Switch either, so there's that.
There's
And I feel like it's that thing where a year ago we would have been more bullish the other way or one way or the other. Whereas I feel like now that both Switch and VR are out, I feel like
One's getting support, the other's
VR
not
is
right now.
going down and it feels like Switch is
Yeah.
coming up.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I also think that I love PSVR, I didn't buy one, and I had all the experience that I need playing your guys's.
Sure.
You know, and it's I'm a little bit lucky that I work in the industry and have all my friends have
100%.
it, but it's just like I'm sure you could find somebody if you really wanted to play that would let you borrow it for a weekend.
Yeah, you're right.
They probably own all 5 awesome experiences that you can do them all, and then you're done.
It's pretty easy to say that you'll get more time out of Switch than you would out of PSVR just with Zelda alone. So
Yeah.
And that's the thing is
Zelda's cheating.
And it's the same. I mean, it's Vita fanboy number 1 or 2 at least. Over here with Switch, right? Like, it's everything I love about the Vita without the pitfall of the Vita. That at no point Nintendo can be like,
Not
you know what?
everything you love.
Trophies, I know. But for the most important part, right? But Nintendo can't say, you know what? We're not going to make AAA games for it anymore.
yeah.
They're making AAA games for this. I'm getting Odyssey. I'm playing Card. I loved Zelda. And then I have Mr. Shifty in there, that Tumbleweed game, Tumbleseed game. I can never remember the name of it. Tumbleseed. Yeah, I mean, and Graceful Explosion Machine. Like, there's enough reasons right now, I feel that it's why it's my most played system at the moment and why it's with me at all times.
Mr. Shifty.
Yeah.
Did you beat it?
No.
Okay. What did you think?
I enjoyed what I played early on. I mean, it's rough around the edges.
Yeah, it's pretty
It
rough.
chugs at times. Yeah.
It's much cooler of an idea than it is.
Sure. It's not
actually-
optimized. It doesn't feel optimized.
it doesn't feel optimized. That's
Yeah.
a good way to put
But
it.
I enjoy
It's a
it.
fun game, really. It's
Kevin,
cool,
you
but
beat it,
it's
right?
Yeah.
What'd you think, Big Kev Dog? Hitting a million buttons. Get his mic turned on. Gonna turn a little webcam here in a second.
You know,
There it
I'm
is.
actually turning off your mics when I do that.
Oh, really?
Aw.
So nobody can hear us?
Well, no, for the morning show.
Oh.
Those mics are on. And it's like I'm off. I loved Mr. Shifty. What am I doing?
I just like how us talking to you feels. You like play it off like we're inconveniencing you. You're like, oh, well, I was in the
Gotta
middle
put
of
my
something.
Switch down.
Good. I'm glad you liked
All
it.
right.
And that was that.
The ending was. It gets so hard, and it does have a lot of like glitching.
Yeah.
Where your like characters just kind of like the whole screen freezes,
Oh, really?
and then all of a sudden you've jumped a little bit, and it's like all right, whatever. But eventually you kind of figure out when that's gonna happen. When there's just too much
The
going
telltale
on.
problem.
Yeah.
You just accept it. Andy, what do you think of Mr. Shifty? Get in there and talk in that microphone, Big Andy Cortez.
Oh my God, why are you shut up, dude?
Seriously,
I really
think
like it. I like it a lot.
Good. All right. Thanks, Andy.
Look at these
show.
motherfuckers.
Look how cute they are. I've never said this phrase before in my life, but I think I ship you.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Big Kev Dog and Andy Cortez.
It's good.
It's getting hot. Some
Aw.
cute boys.
Damn.
I like
What
this.
do you
I
got
like this
against
a lot.
bongos, man? Come on.
Yeah. Oh man. Brian Bishar Sharon says, "Who's the best video game in-game DJ?" This was a Alanah question.
I don't really
If you
know
didn't
of many.
What's your DJ name? Is your DJ Alanah
I
or
don't
DJ
have
Char
one.
Alonzar?
I literally let the venue choose. I'm like, whatever you want, fam.
Just do it. Just
Yeah,
go.
I thought about going with Alanah Zod for a while because I feel like that's a cool DJ name, but it's a lot of effort. Like, I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
just like, whatever the fuck you want.
Okay,
People are like, what kind of genre do you DJ? I'm like, whatever the fuck they ask for. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll play Queen if you want. It's fine.
Kevin
The
always
answer
asks
to
for
that,
Queen.
can I just say Child of Eden, just the whole game?
The game?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to that.
Yeah.
Did you play DJ Hero too? Or DJ Hero? Why did I jump to two?
Yes.
Anyways.
I have played DJ Hero.
What'd you think? As like a DJ?
Completely inaccurate, but
Sure.
very fun.
Yeah, right. That was
Not
fun.
even remotely accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DJ Hero for me, I was so heartbroken by it.
Really?
Because I love rhythm games.
Yeah.
Amplitude, obviously, fucking greatest of all time. And
Rock
DJ
band.
Hero was because I'm like, all right, this is gonna be the closest thing to that I'm gonna get. And it's just something about the mechanics of it. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is just a broke ass like.
Yeah, it's
it
not
wasn't
even that
Beatmania
rhythmic.
even. Like Beatmania was awesome, and then that shit, I'm like,
The
it's-
sound shapes is so good.
Oh, sound shapes. Fuck
Yeah,
yeah. Good call. Good call. Double platinum.
All right, now here is a very hard hitting question from More saying, does Alanah think Armored Core can be revitalized with a new gameplay mechanic?
I think Armored Core can be revitalized anyway. Like, I really like those games. We haven't had a mech game in a while.
It happened! Oh my god! Holy fucking shit!
It's been 118 episodes, and it's finally happened.
so
we
confused.
have a guest on the show that has played Armored Core. This dude
Everyone just started yelling at me, Andy.
What's
happening?
has sent in a question. Every time I have a guest, he sends in a question
about
on
Armored
Armored
Core?
Core.
No way.
And no one ever has
I really like Armored
anything to say.
That's cool.
Oh, the floor is yours. Go.
What? I mean,
Armored Core,
It's
just-
been a
We
really
all
long,
yelled over your answer. What would you do
It's
to
been a
revive?
long time since we've had an Armored Core game / any good mech game. I think you don't need to revitalize it with a gameplay mechanic. I think that exists in this day. You just make one.
Well, there you go. I don't know what you're going to
Got you,
ask from
fam.
now on. This is it. History has been made.
I can't believe
You guys
it.
not
That
playing
was
Armored
great.
Core?
No.
I think I honestly might have reviewed one for IGN back in the day when they were like, review everything. I don't know anything about it. Review it. All right. But I don't,
Yeah, they're fun.
A lot of
So here's a lot of Alanah questions here.
flare grenades.
Alan Martinez says, when did you decide to go into the game press? A specific game? Did someone really inspire you to cover video games? And was IGN your dream?
So I think my answer to this is very similar to most other people's, and that it was a complete accident. I was working in this terrible job in a call center, which I fucking hated. So naturally, I was looking for jobs elsewhere, and I'd always loved writing. I'd always loved games, and I just saw a listing for a volunteer news writer for a games website, and I was like, I totally do that in my spare time. So I started doing that, and then was like, this is the best thing, and then just worked my way up to doing it full time. So it wasn't like a decision I made. It was like a job listing I saw and was like, I could maybe do this. And that was like 5 years ago in May. I think my first article was published May 6th. So like kind of soon. What was the other half of that question?
Was IGN the dream?
I wanted to work at a place like IGN or GameSpot for sure. And I wouldn't say like that I had that like one goal, but it was definitely I wanted to work in the US because the industry's so much bigger here and there's kind of a ceiling in Australia. So it was definitely like one of the bigger websites, but it wasn't IGN specifically. I'm pretty happy there though.
Yeah, and speaking of IGN, Michael Gulliver wants to know, what are the expectations versus reality of working at IGN?
You work constantly and you're very tired. No, it's a super fun place to work. I love everyone I work with. It's like
that can't be true.
well, almost.
Fran,
You work with Fran,
Fran
right?
like
Bell the
Fran.
third.
You're allowed to like Fran outside of work, but at work,
No,
worst.
Well, I'm only just starting on the video team.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
you'll
yeah,
learn.
so
you'll
you
learn.
gotta.
We should have a meeting
Love you,
about
Fran.
this.
Love
I'm
you,
out of town for 4 months.
Yeah.
Damn it, Fran.
It's funny how many times I've heard that exact thing, but I've never experienced it myself. But yeah, I mean, you definitely work way harder than even I would have thought. And it's also like one thing that I always want to talk about is IGN takes ethics way more fucking seriously than I ever would have expected before working there. Because I was one of those teenagers who made fun of IGN because they were the cool kid to make fun of. And working there now is like, you know, I've worked for the BBC, I worked for the ABC. Those like actual mainstream news organizations who didn't take game reviews or games journalism as seriously as IGN does. So like that's something that I think that like really needs to be spoken about. And like when we do those ranking lists or game of the year lists, people are in a room fucking arguing. People are yelling. People are angry at each other. At no point is this like, maybe they'll give us some money. Let's just like email Activision and see what happens there. Not a thing. And that's like something that I didn't expect to be as serious as it was. But I like it.
Graham Hughes wants to know, which Switch cartridge tastes the best?
I assume they all taste bad. I have tasted 2 of them. It was Zelda and Skylanders. I was drunk. That's my excuse. And they were both equally terrible. I also actually, speaking of Steve Gaynor, tried to make him taste one. I tried very hard. It's like I have this recorded because I was drunk and I was very rude about it. He didn't do it. He was like, I'm not doing that. I was like, Steve, lick it. He didn't do
He
it.
said the same thing when I said to put a platinum trophy and going home. It's like, I'm not doing it. I'm
Yeah.
like, you're a piece of
And then
shit.
did you say, Steve,
Lick it.
Yeah, I did. But that was,
How did
we're
that
talking
go?
about something different. His next game's an Xbox PC exclusive.
George Alexander wants to know, how hard is it to juggle IGN content in your own YouTube channel?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I work late a lot of the time, and the biggest problem I have is that I live with a bunch of housemates who, when I get home at like 10 p.m. at night after work and going to the gym, and then I can't make a video because it would be super rude because I would keep all my housemates up. So that is like the biggest problem is finding the time. It's also like it's very hard for me to respond to things. Like I make videos about lifestyle shit or current news. Like I did a Pepsi ad reaction video, which was like, okay, I know I have to do this right now, but how the fuck do I find the time to do that? It's really hard to respond to things immediately, but yeah, I don't know. I block out time. I plan things literally months in advance. I have the YouTube videos I plan on making for probably the next year in a list, and I just sort of reorder them all the time. It's just like I have to be very organized about
How
it.
many videos you put out a week?
Just one.
Okay.
I usually like, because I have to be flexible on times. I can't publish like at a certain amount. I try and do every 5 days.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. So
Gotcha.
yeah, I think being more on point on dates would probably work better. But just with the way that my schedule is and traveling so much, I can't.
Oh, yeah,
So
totally.
I do what I can.
Yeah. You're doing it well.
Thank you.
Gareth McCruden says, what are games you've never played / wanted to play because they weren't available in Australia?
I think games being banned in Australia is exaggerated, and that it doesn't. When you live there, you're angry about the news, but then you seem to just end up getting access to everything really easily anyway. So it's not really a thing. The only thing that I really wanted was, I think Left 4 Dead 2 was originally censored in Australia, and I really wanted the uncensored version.
That was
So
the
I
big
just-
one. Yeah, they shot and disappeared or became
Yes.
flowers or
The-
some
the-
shit like that.
That would have been nicer. No, the
Was-
bodies
okay,
disappeared.
okay.
Which like I hated, so I just played the uncensored version, found a way to play it. But then on the flip side, South Park: The Stick of Truth is also censored, but I think the way they censored it is funnier than the thing they censored. So it's like basically someone, I think in the US version, presses a button and then Randy Marsh just gets a dildo up his butt. I think that's what happens.
He gets probed. He gets probed in the alien ship.
Right.
Yeah.
Something goes up his butt.
Yes,
either way.
yes.
But in the Australian version, it just cuts to a picture of a kangaroo crying with like a faint didgeridoo sound, and it's like, Australia, you fucked up again. Like, we're not allowed to show you this because you're a bunch of pussies. And every time
That's
it would
really
cut to that,
funny.
I was
That's
like, this is
really
way
funny.
better than the actual probing. It was pretty good.
Usually is. Usually is.
Yeah.
Well, Alanah, thank you very much for joining us
My
today.
pleasure.
This has been a very fun episode. Where can people find you?
I am on all of the social medias at Charolanazard.
Including
Check me out as
Patreon.
well. Yeah. I just launch them every day.
Patreon.com/CharLanazard?
Yeah. I keep it consistent.
Nice
There you
job.
go. I like that. I like that. You should support her. She's cool. She's doing cool stuff.
Thank you.
Support her at IGN as well. All the places.
You want-
Don't support Fran.
Yeah, don't support Fran.
Never forgive
Never
the
support-
7-9.
Well.
Double dash. You
Yeah,
fucking
there
kidding
you
me,
go with the
Fran.
well. There you go with the well. You're learning. Till next time. I love you. Well, thank you for watching that. You can click right there to subscribe to youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. You can click right there to subscribe to youtube.com/kindoffunny. You can support us on Patreon, get a lot of things early, and you can click right here for some fucking magic.